afternoon and good evening to you, wherever in the world you are. Welcome to the Full 100 TFH by myself, Anthony Spencer. And today is Thursday, the 23rd of April, and we still are in the coronavirus situation. Today's show is really about, I want to focus mainly on the effects of coronavirus on the BAME community right across the Western world. I have to say, I do not have data from France, Germany, who's just taken in 1 million immigrants over there, 1.5 million plus in the last couple of years. I do not have data from those countries. I'm not big enough yet to access those data. I tried to do my research. I promise you I did, but I'm not finding anything. And what I'm finding in French, I have no translator to translate that for me. So unfortunately, I'm only going to focus on the UK and the US. And what we have from those two sample countries should really guide us on what's going on in the other territories, in the other countries where there are blacks in the Western world. Africa is a different proposition because Africa's crisis is just now coming. The virus has taken a predictable turn, a predictable pattern. So Africa's crisis is coming in a minute. And I promise you on this platform, we will keep an eye on what's going on with Africa as and when that happens, as and when we need to, right? So today, I'm going to be bringing you also, towards the end of the show, I'm going to be talking about giving you a few hints, a few tips, if you like, regarding homeschooling, as I promised I would. And also, I have put together that petition that I promised you I would put together on Monday. If you watch my show about when we gave Earth a breather, I told you I would be starting a petition to ask for 7 days every year. I have just completed that petition. I have published it, but I haven't put it on there online. I'm going to be putting it online live on this show. Okay. So guys, without further ado, let's get to it. Right. I want to start basically with the situation with blacks, how immigrants and the ethnic minority should really be recognized at this. What should come out of this period is the recognition and maybe a change of behavior by authorities, by the system. We're all trying to change the system and flip it upside down. We're all trying to put those who have saved us through this at the top of the food chain and remove the naturally top of the food chain people that have been the top of the food chain for many years. I also hope we do the same with people from the ethnic minorities, because when you look at the van drivers, when you look at the postmen, when you look at the shop workers, the convenience shop workers, the NHS, when you look at all these frontline positions, the cleaners in these toilets that we applauded the other day, when you look at these people, we are heavily weighted on the side of the ethnic immigrant BAME population, which is one of the reasons why I think we're dying quite a lot. But there are other reasons which I'm going to explore on this show. My friends, I think the biggest problem we have as a population is that we're too easily, I don't want to say led, but we're too doubtful. We doubt everything. And that's not, I have to speak up as a fellow black person. I've had to train myself my whole life, and partly thanks to my father and my parenting, why I don't carry a lot of these weights on my shoulder. But what you will notice, my people, is that we are led by too many ideologies. We are led by religion. We're led by opinion stories. We're led by black magic stories from handed down that we don't even recognize the black magic anymore. We're led by voodoo stories. We're led by obia stories, which is the West Indian version of black magic. We're led by conspiracy theories, victimization feelings and stories, not to mention the made up ones. Okay, so when you look at us as a demographic, we are prone to not trust anything. We're prone to not trust the authorities. We're prone to not trust anybody that doesn't say what we already have in mind. And that last bit is really what's killing us. Because let me tell you guys something, okay? We all if you're black or ethnic, you're from India, we all have traditional stories handed down to us, okay? And our traditional stories are probably different to the Western white world, if you like, stories. We tend to grow up and not shake these off very easily. That is affecting us greatly, that mentality that we have, I think. But obviously, you have to add that, as well as add the religious following that we as black people tend to do, especially the older generation. I think there are more Christians in the black community than there are in any other community, other than maybe the Muslim community. There are many God believers. It's very hard to find a pagan amongst black people. So even if you don't, as a black person, if you don't practice going to church every Sunday, there's one thing you definitely believe in, and that's the Almighty God. Really, it's very, very hard, very rare to come across a black person who identifies as a pagan, which we know is very common in that in the white world. Because of that fact, it's easy for anybody who calls themselves a prophet to divert our thinking, to reprogram our thinking, rather than reprogram, to add on top of the program what we've already been programmed to think. So we're already God believers. So if you have someone who comes and he can speak very well, and he has a new way of doing things and is backed by God, you're more likely to follow that guy if you're a God believer than if you're not. And because we're mostly God believers in the black and in the BAME community, in both the West, in both the UK and the US, it's easier for us to follow and sign up to those sorts of people. I'm not saying it's a bad trait. I'm not. But it's exploitable, my people. It's very, very exploitable. There was a video that I put up last week sometime, the CNN reporter who interviewed a young lady who was in her late 30s, early 40s, whose father had died from coronavirus, whose father was a bishop, and she was now appearing on CNN urging his followers who had listened to him saying this does not affect black people, who had listened to him saying God will protect them, who are now dying in droves. She came on CNN to appeal to those people to say, look, my dad got it wrong. This is killing us. We need to do what we need to do to get by, to get past, to get through this, you know? But there's also another side that we're seeing as well. As we all know, whatever is introduced, black people and the ethnic minorities just seem to suffer it more. And it's really sad. And it's about time we sort of pay attention to these things, because these are the people we're applauding. When you applaud, when you, society in America or in the US, in the UK, sorry, when you go out to applaud, remember, you're not applauding just anybody. You're applauding a majority of ethnic minority people who are carrying, in proportion to their numbers, they're carrying a very heavy weight. And it's showing in their death numbers. Now, I want to put up a couple of headlines for you to have a look. Please take a look at this. The first one is a Guardian report, which is talking about is by a guy called Omar Khan, who is equality think tank called Runnymede Trust. I've heard of them. They do great work. Take a look at his headline. Okay. He talks about coronavirus exposes how riddled Britain is with racial inequality. And that's sad as a headline. And I hope the powers that be pay attention to such headlines. Now, take another look at, take a second look at this headline. Okay, I'll read out what it says as well. It says a high proportion of BAME residents was found to be the strongest predictor of a high COVID-19 death rate. The analysis shows that for every 10% increase in ethnic minority residents there was, right, in that area. So if they go to an area with every 10% more black people in that area or ethnic minority people in that area, there were 2.9 more COVID-19 deaths per 100,000. That's shocking. Nearly 3 more deaths per 100,000 once there's 10% more in that of us in that population. The areas with high BAME populations have higher COVID-19 death rates. Okay, so you can see, this is what I put up earlier, but you can see the concentration, people. Okay, you can see the concentration, the hotspots. All these hotspots is where our population is concentrated the most. Now, there is another matter that I'd like to bring up, and this is a situation that I have no proof is happening here as yet, but I have a fear that it might be happening, and that's the case of the financial bailouts, the financial help to BAME people. In America, actually, let me show you this story in America. Take a look at this video.
The health impact to the economic impact, Bank of America economists estimate that it will take nearly $1 trillion to save America's small businesses. Now, among those hardest hit by the shutdown, though, have been minority small business owners. Kyung-la is out front.
As days turn to weeks with money fading fast, Kim Prince feels that she and her community's businesses are the ones getting burned.
You know, they're dismissed. That's how it feels. It feels you've just been pushed to the side. You're not deemed essential enough.
You want the Shaw sandwich?
Hotfield Chicken in South LA is among the countless small businesses who apply for the Paycheck Protection Program. Hotville is a Black-owned business in a majority Black community.
It's a dark time for the city.
Joe Roseanne leads a community economic group helping dozens of Black and Latino businesses apply for the PPP.
83 businesses.
83, yes.
And of those 83, how many of them have gotten the money?
As of today, 4 have actually been funded.
Just 4 minority-owned businesses servicing an economically challenged community, where police choppers are common, but traditional bank loans are not.
If you don't have a relationship with a bank, that's what we're hearing from our constituents, our clients, is that because they didn't have a strong relationship with their bank, they haven't been able to compete for those dollars.
Now, that's the experience that Black people are getting. So we live in a country or countries where we bear the most burden when the police clamp down. We bear the most burden when there's a financial crisis. We bear the most burden when there are restrictive laws brought in. We bear the brunt. We bear the brunt when there's help available to people. We get less of it. When we are needed, when the country needs its people, we also bear the most of it, that work. Then we have the bailout, and we are getting left aside. Now, listen to a typical right-wing response to that video you just watched. Have a look.
Other larger recipients to do so as well. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin defended the overall distribution of the funds.
We have over 1 million companies that have received this with less than 10 workers.
Okay. I'm going to get back to the economic situation in a minute. Actually, I'm going to deal with the economic situation. Now, you're telling people that the question is ethnic minorities are losing out on this. Many of them are small businesses and they're being ignored. And the guy you saw, Mnuchin, okay, he's a version of Rishi Sunak, our Chancellor. So he's the finance secretary, sort of thing, yeah? And his response to that query is that we have given X amount of money to small businesses. That's not the question you were asked, okay? The question you was asked is, what are you doing to make sure the money gets to the neighborhoods that have the highest proportion of ethnic businesses? So it's like, you have a place like Brixton. Many of the little shops are going to be Black run and ethnic owned. Indian, Pakistani, Blacks, Turkish, or, Arabic sort of people in the Brixton. The biggest shops will be conglomerates, will be your BHS or your Tesco's. And so when an area like Brixton gets help, by Topshop gets help and McDonald's gets help, all these franchises, the bigger companies, But your mum and pop shops, your hair beauty product shops, your black fried chicken shop, your West Indian takeaway shop, these shops are applying for the same help and not getting it. So my plea to the government is please keep an eye on these numbers, because it's already happening in America. I have no data and I have no proof that it's happening here. So I will not say that on this platform, because we're all about the truth and what we can prove. But I don't know if it's happening. So if you're a black business, a black small business, or of any size, please get in touch with me. My email address is there. And let me know if you've been able to access this help for small businesses. I only want to hear from the black community, obviously, but I'm happy to hear from anybody. If you're finding it difficult, I will bring up your issue as well. But seeing as this is a topic about the BAME community, then it's obviously fair that I'm asking just for those. So we don't know it's happening here yet, but this is the type of injustice that we felt for so long, my people, for so long. And when there's a fire, when the country needs to get rebuilt, like we will have to rebuild after this crisis, we will bear the brunt of that. All it takes is for a brave politician to really stand up, to look at any racist or discriminatory policies that we already have in place that make racism institutionalized. And let's start looking about dismantling these things. Set up a commission. You know, we just had the Windrush deportations that were unfair. And right off the back of that, before we've even disclosed what the report about the whole incident says, we're chartering planes to deport more people to countries they barely remember. Their aunties are getting us out of this jam right now. Their parents, their cousins, their in-laws, their kids' mothers that they left behind here while you deported them. These are the people that are getting us through this crisis. It really is unfair. And it's about time that black, white, everybody stands up. I mentioned this in my African video the other day about Africans being treated badly in China and blamed for coronavirus. And I said, look, this would not stop until Mr. Jones in Middle England, the white chap who fought in the wars, until he's disgusted at what he's seeing. This isn't going to stop until Miss James in Oxfordshire, in a mansion, comfortable life, has nothing to gain by getting involved, until she's disgusted at what she sees. Until ministers as a totality are disgusted, and more disgusted than those who have no feeling or qualms about it. It only then and only then will things change, guys. Now, I want to deal with the reasons and what I believe we should be doing as a black community. This is an upward journey. It's a tough journey I'm on. I'm not fooled, or I'm not deceived and believe that this was done and could be sorted in one generation. I think it will take maybe the end of my generation. Maybe our grandkids will be the ones who benefit from these types of talks and these types of things I'm about to say to us as a race. Guys, I will say this to you. I just had a conversation with somebody earlier today that I said, look, if you take 100 black people and you ask those 100 black people what they think about the coronavirus, you will find at least 80% of them believe there is something up. They won't all believe the same. There are some intelligent enough to know that this isn't to do with 5G. But those same people who don't think it's something to do with 5G would definitely believe that there's some other type of mystery surrounding this whole thing. So they're either going to think the vaccine, this is all to do with a vaccine that they're going to force us to take, or they're going to think some other thing. Either way, you're going to get at least 80%. I was wrong. The person I was speaking to disagreed with me. Therefore, I was generalizing. But then I thought of something. I do have a platform. I do have a WhatsApp group that I'm on. And I'm one of 101 people. So there are 102 people. 101 and myself makes 102. We're mostly black professionals, retired firemen, police officers from another country, that sort of thing, musicians, artists, ex-offenders, you name it. The group's made up of just about every type of walk of life within our community and every age group. Well, the age group's mostly, I would say, between early 40s and maybe about 65. That's our age group. And as I was having that conversation, somebody said to me, you know what? I've actually got a ready-made pool of people that I can actually base my estimated percentage on. I said 80% of black people would come with some conspiracy theory about this situation. And I was doubted. We sat down for about an hour and scrolled through all of the messages. And we couldn't find one message from all these intelligent people, all these professionals and retired professionals. We couldn't find one message, guys. And I'm totally honest with you. Go back, all of you black and BAME people who watch this. If you're in a group made up of 10, 15, 30, family group made up of 40, 50, 60, go and have a look at your group chats and tell me if you see one person in that group sharing anything that dislodges the what seems to be the popular thinking within the black community. Popular thinking being, this is some kind of a conspiracy, this is 5G, this is God's will. God told us this was coming. So there's going to be all varying types. And I'm not saying they're all thinking the same thing. There's going to be all varying types of thinking, but they're all going to be something else is behind this. None of them is going to think it's just straightforward virus. We just found out this morning that the Black Death came from China. This morning, my 9-year-old found out this morning. He asked me, he goes, by the way, Dan, where's the Black Death come from? Because obviously we established again about a week ago, since this started, that the Spanish flu actually came from China. We never spoke about the Black Death. So when he asked me this morning, where's the Black Death come from? I said to him, you know what, son? I actually don't know. Because that was all like the Middle Ages, right? He asked Siri on his phone, guess where the Black Death came from? From China. Viruses have existed since God knows when. Before conspiracy theories was around, viruses was coming out of China. But all of a sudden, because we're in 2020 now, it's got to be some laboratory accident. It's got to be some other thing, 5G. What is it going to be in 2040 when another virus comes? And now we got flying cars. Are we going to say it's down to flying cars? Why we got this virus? Virus have been around. But back to the point I was trying to make. Every one of you, I want you to go into your groups that you're in. Have a look at your groups. Scroll through the messages that have been coming through in all this time. And kindly send me one by email that is actually telling the truth. The truth being, this is just a virus. Let's protect ourselves. That's the truth. This is an unseen virus. We are riddled with beliefs, lack of trust in authorities, which isn't our fault. We've been beaten down to get to that point, okay? We've been lied on. We've been conspired against. That's why we are where we are as a community, as a people. So I don't blame any black person that feels this is going to be some kind of a conspiracy. My beef with black people at this point is that our beliefs is killing us, literally by the thousands in this country and the US. Now I'm going to put up some of the reasons why these types of beliefs. Listen to these two black lads who believe that the food we eat makes us exempt from this virus. because they eat ackee and saltfish, because they eat dumplings. Look how solid we are. We can't catch that. I don't eat lasagna like you lot. I don't eat KFC like you lot. I don't eat McDonald's. See, this is only black people think that because we eat certain food and we don't eat takeaway, that we're cool and we're safe. It's ridiculous. It has nothing. This virus doesn't respect what you eat. On the contrary, I beg to differ. Did you know that what we eat makes us more prone to high blood pressure? In a way that white people aren't. And they eat KFC and McDonald's and all the stuff that you boast that you don't eat. Did you know that what we eat makes us more prone to strokes? Did you know that we are more prone to arthritis? Do you know that there are so much ailments that we, as a minority people, are more prone to just because of what we eat? And yet you have guys thinking this. Take a look at this video.
Coronavirus can't do nothing because you know so we take a beer porridge junior and banana and dumpling and them KFC and Marley's.
Ackee and saltfish.
And lasagna and them things there. Ackee and saltfish.
Chippy no Ruko.
Adios! Take a look at this church guy. Now, obviously, you've seen these guys. I mean, it's laughable, right? But that's a real belief in our community. That is a genuine belief. They're not the only ones I've heard say that, guys. Now, take a look at this church video, which many of our fellow black citizens. This is a white American church. However, I just couldn't find one from a black church, which is why I've put this up. But our black churches are no different. The African churches are making sure that they're still getting the monies in, okay? While telling them that if they put the money in the box and send a check, it means they are buying more protection from the Almighty Lord. Take a look at this.
Fear of this coronavirus is faith in its ability to hurt you or kill you. The fear of what are we going to do? I'm getting laid off at work. Hey, your job's not your source. If it is, you're in trouble. Jesus is your source. Whatever you do right now, don't you stop tithing. Don't you stop sowing offerings. Well, they won't let us go to church. Well, email it in there, text give or something, but you get your tithe in that church. If you have to go take it down there and drop it off and stick it under the door or something, get that tithe in that church, you get that offering in that church, and then you go home and you...
Those who have ears to hear will hear, and those who have eyes to see will see, and those with a heart will understand. Now, some of you lot know that it's the towers them that's emitting the radiation waves that's making people sick. Well, they're not hiding it from you because it's in plain sight, but people have eyes to see and can't see. Check out your £20 note. Tell me, is that not a tower? And those rings around the tower, are those not the emissions from the tower? What is above the tower and those emissions? You can see it there, right there, the tower.
Right? So these are the types of videos, guys, that we seem to get quite a lot of. And it's pretty sad for me. It really is. I really don't know how to start the turnaround. And I really hope that as a community that we pay attention to the deaths, the high level of deaths that we are experiencing as a community, because it's really sad. I mean, there is no other explanation for it other than we are very stubborn to shake beliefs. I've got people telling me they listen to people like David Icke. David Icke, who has an agenda. David Icke that says this is down to 5G. So clearly, if you believe David Icke and you're already sold on it, and that's it because you think he knows his stuff, God help you in it. God help you, mate. There's nothing I can do about that other than draw attention to what's killing us. And what is killing us is not just the virus. The virus is killing us, but because we are stuck in our ways, because we have these stupid, absolutely nutty beliefs. Americans were told, there's parts of America that I can't find the video, but when I do, I will do a part 2 to this topic. There is a video that I watched. It was a radio show. The radio show, if you look at me, you're gonna think, he's talking crap because of my setup. This radio show was, or it might be a studio they hired, but it looked so professional. You'd think he was watching ITV or the BBC. And they had a vicar on there, a black vicar on there, and they had the host of the show, and they had another guest of the show. That's the host's friend. And the topic of the day is black people can't catch it. And all 3 of these people believe this. A vicar, a radio show host who's black, and his pretty much well-spoken black mate. But all 3 on this show believe that. So if you watched or listened to that show on that day, you're walking out there as a black person, because a white person listens to that. It's not gonna help him, because what they're hearing is that only black people are safe from this. So they're taking care. They weren't included in those numbers. So they're protecting themselves. However, my fellow black guys, they're going out there bouncing with a spring in the steps the very next day. They got spring in the steps. Oh yeah, this virus ain't gonna get us. Why are we so prone to believe any bullshit, people? I don't understand it. Why do we not ask a question? I mean, if I had listened to that show live, forget I've been enlightening myself my whole life. Forget that for a minute. But let's say I still have the common sense that I have, yeah? I don't think there's ever been an illness that really separates groups of races. I don't think there is. Cancer gets everybody. I mean, if you're white, malaria mostly gets black people, but that's because black people live in countries that have the malaria carrying mosquitoes. However, if you're white and you went to one of these countries, hell yeah, you're going to get bitten, and hell yeah, you're going to need chloroquine to save you. I've never heard. And please, I need somebody to tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm sitting here as I'm talking to you. I'm actually, because a lot of the chat that I have, I just have the banners. I just prepared the topics of what I'm going to say. I'll never write a script, because you can't script these things, okay? These things have got to come up naturally when you speak into the camera. So this is literally just coming up in my mind as I'm speaking to you right now. And I would need help. I would need someone to really tell me if I'm wrong, because as far as I'm concerned, there is no illness that really bypasses any group or any race or any demographic. So where in the world do you just wake up one day, a virus they've told you man has never seen before? You're not an expert, you're not a scientist, but you can just decide that this isn't going to bother black people? Where did you get that from? Where did that come from? That's what boggles me. That's what boggles my mind. So guys, look, we are prone to the levels that are dangerous. I would also use the word gullible. Now, many people might attack me for this, but as a race, we're gullible to the levels that it's dangerous to us. As a community, that our actions, our beliefs, our prejudices are a risk to our health. And we're dying in droves. Okay? Guys, look, the be all and end all is that this thing is serious. This thing is killing us. And on top of that, we are still being attacked by the system who aren't giving us the help, being prejudiced against our communities and not getting the help that was put out there for the general public, for those who have businesses and stuff like this. We're being attacked in every which way, guys. And when this is over, and if there are any strict restrictions put in place, we'll also bear the brunt of it. It's a sad, sad day. If you guys can only, after this video, wake up to this fact that we can change this. There are some things we can't help. We can't help that the system is racist. We can't help that the institutions are racist. We can't help that when we go up in front of judges, we're more likely to be sent to prison than any other race. We're already fighting, walking down the road with our wives or girlfriends or our kids, and some white lady's walking towards you and crosses the road because she thinks even with your wife or with your kids with you, you're going to snatch a handbag. We got to deal with all these things every day. Those things we cannot help. Those things were done to us before we even were born. Black people have been getting bad press for 50 years. Like I said to you the other day, dare me and give me 1 month and I can show you video after video, news clip after news clip, narrative after narrative, fake news after fake news. I'll even throw in a few fake news because they did that to us. I'm not just going to stick to facts. I'm going to do exactly what was done to us. I'll give you fake news about give me a race and I'll do that. I'll give you real news too. I'll give you picture after picture, picture after picture. And all you see me do is I'll spend 45 minutes of my show giving you the bad news. And once a week, right at the end of the show, I'll tell you about the fantastic sportsman or the fantastic sports person who did well, because that's how we've been treated. When there's fantastic news about black people, is this much. When there's bad news about black people that it doesn't even mean anything, is this much. I can do that. And you tell me by the end of that week, or end of that month or week, if you don't think the race that you have picked for me to use as an example, if I haven't changed your mind about that particular race. And I can focus on anything. I can prove that all Chinese people are pedophiles if you dare me. I can prove that all white people are pedophiles if you dare me. I can prove that all Indians are wife killers if you dare me. And I'm just giving these as examples, people. And please don't take this like I'm saying that it's real. I'm giving you as an example. We can make anybody look how we want them to look if we tried. That's my point. Guys, I'm going to finish with this point now and move on to the other thing I wanted to discuss with you guys. It's really a shame, guys, and I hope this video does go viral. And guys, please share this video. Stop sharing the fake news. Disassociate from the fake news. Kill the fake news when it gets to your phone, and that way we'll save more black lives. I guarantee you. Okay. Now, I spoke to you guys about the education advice that I was going to give you guys a brief tip. I'm not going to go into, I'm not a teacher, I'm not a lecturer. It's just a few tips, guys, that has worked for us as a family. Okay. My first advice, guys, really is to have a structure. The structure allows even you as a parent to stick to something. Because if you do not have a structure, then you do not know what time you want to wake him up every day. You don't know what he does first when he wakes up, what he does last, what he does during the day. So it's about putting in a structure. So I'll give you an example of our structure. Our structure during school time. During school time, he gets up at 7:30. He has to be at school at 8:45. During this homeschooling period, we're waking him up at 9, give him an hour to have breakfast and shower, and he's down in the conservatory, which is his classroom, by 10. We do 10 to 12, 2 hours. He breaks up between 12 and 2, at which time he has lunch and does his thing, goes on the game, connects back with all his friends on the game and all that. And after his lunch, between 12 and 2, after his lunch at 2, he comes back down and he does 2 to 4, and that's it. So he does 4 hours a day. When you think about it, at school, they're doing what? Say 8:45, say 9 o'clock till 3 o'clock, and they probably have about an hour's break in between. So that's 5 hours with an hour's break. 6 hours with an hour's break, or 6.5 hours with an hour's break, maybe even an hour and a half break. So you're only 1 hour out if you go with that. But that's what we've decided to do, and it works perfectly, and it's relaxing. Second tip. So that first tip is set a structure. Second tip is plan your lessons right. Plan the lessons, preparation. Know what he's gonna be doing the next day. So you don't want to wake up in the morning and start thinking about what to do. Have at least in your mind what you plan for tomorrow. Write it down if you need to. So preparation is key, number 2. Number 3, make the lessons and the day as fun as possible. You've got to portray or let him experience that there's a difference between sitting with those teachers who bark after them sometimes and tell them to stop running and all of this. Make them understand there's a difference between being at school and being at home. Let them enjoy homeschooling. Very important. So make it fun, number 3. Number 4, very important, following up, marking the work. Whatever you set him or her, you go over it. If you don't do that, you're missing a big element of homeschooling. You've got to mark and correct. Whatever they're doing, if they're reading, you mark the page they stopped, so they carry on from the next page. If you set them sums, you check it over. You don't leave them to walk off without checking it over. If you're rushed off your feet that day, check it over the following day. However, that must be done. It's the only way you know they're catching it. It's the only way you know you can encourage them. You've done well, fantastic, high five. So that's key, yeah? And the last but not least, exercising. You have to include exercising that. They're on lockdown at the moment. They're kids, they're children. Think about when they're at school. They're running around with their mates. They're doing all sorts of stuff. They get more exercise at school than they get in a whole week, okay, normally at home. So you have to include exercising. Now, with our example, he gets, in that 2 hours, he gets 30 minutes, but we have a garden. It's unfair to expect everybody to be able to put that in. However, we have a garden, so we're able to do that. If you have a flat, then you have to sort of be smart about how you go about it. Maybe in this time, maybe the last hour of that, maybe the last 30 minutes, if you have a flat. So you do everything indoors, and then the last 30 minutes of the 2 hour, of the whatever structure you put in place, you take him out for a walk, take her out for a walk. That's exercise. But you make them know that's part of the course. I can tell you what my little boy done for the first part of the morning this morning. He baked cakes. That's homeschooling. His mum baked cakes with him. The cakes are there. I've had a couple of them. It was fun. So lessons can be whatever you want it to be. However, do not ignore the main things that's going to help them get where they want to get to. The maths, your English, your reading, your writing, your spellings. Don't ignore those. But also mix it up a bit. Mix it up. Drawing, painting, if your child likes drawing, building things, include those. The subject's totally up to you. Okay, so I hope that helped. I'm just going to run through it again. Number 1 is set a structure. Number 2 is plan your lessons, preparation. Okay, number 3, make sure it's fun and enjoyable. Okay, and you don't want them sulking and being upset and depressed. That you don't need that. Okay, and you don't want that either. And number 4 is follow up, marking their work, giving them feedback on whatever the work you set them. And number 5 is exercise. Okay, so I hope that helps, guys. I'm going to finish today with some breaking news. As usual, we're adding breaking news now when we have something to break to you guys. Yesterday was actually the first time. But I have to bring you guys some information that there's a drug called remdesivir. Remdesivir is spelled REMDESIVIR. It's a drug that was invented for Ebola. It didn't do very well with Ebola. It didn't succeed very well with Ebola. But the US and France, and I do believe Germany as well, have been trying this new drug out on corona. And it seems to be working. It seems to be working. So people are being discharged after 6 days in hospital instead of 10 days. It didn't work well with Ebola, like I said, but it looks very, very promising with COVID. So it's a drug called remdesivir, and it was invented for Ebola. However, watch this space. We'll be keeping you posted on progress with this new drug. The second breaking news I have for you guys, and the last feature on today's installment, is my petition. Have a look. Right now, I'm gonna do something I didn't think I'd do. I'm gonna start it really properly live on this video. So when let me read what it says to you guys. Okay, it says give Earth, the title is Give Earth a Yearly Breather. Okay, I had to publish it, but I haven't advertised it. I've just published it so it's there. Okay, that's all I've done. So I've clicked publish, As soon as I click publish, one person signed it. So it's got one signed on there. However, I haven't put it on my Facebook page. I haven't put it on any platform. I haven't told anybody other than my home and just the people in my house, and you guys who are watching this now know about this. But once I've clicked stop on recording, then I'm going to publish it. So by the time I put this video out, this is now 5:10. These videos don't normally come out because of the editing and everything else till about 10:30. So by the time this comes out, obviously it would be out. It would have been online for about 4 hours by then. However, I did not publish it until I wanted to tell you guys on this video about this, because you were the first ones to know that I was starting this as well. So it says, give Earth a yearly breather. And it says, we are proposing a 7-day period every year when we go into a worldwide lockdown, such as we have in place now. This lockdown has shown us all that Earth is recovering in many aspects during this forced lockdown due to COVID-19. I would like us to self-impose an annual global lockdown for 7 days. This will give the Earth the break it deserves for the rest of time, meaning we carry this tradition on until there's no man left on planet Earth. It's forever, okay? Like Christmas is forever. This is the least we can do for the next generation. What we are doing today in lockdown mode has never been done or even been considered to do before now. If anyone had suggested this last year, you would have been considered crazy. Am I right or not? I mean, if someone had put a petition like this up, or some minister, they would have thought it was loopy. What do you mean everybody locked down? But look at now, we're living it. We are now living it. We've been forced to stop and reevaluate. Let's not come out of this and not have learned anything. Let's impose this on ourselves to give the Earth a breather, 7 days and nights to rejuvenate, to rest, to get a good clean, to get a break from the hustle and bustle and the pollution. In other words, let's give the Earth a breather. Please ask your governments and rulers across the world for this to work. We all have to be in this together. We all have to stop. It will be different this time round. We'd be ready for it. We'd have bought our shopping and groceries. It'll only be for 7 days. We can also pick a summer month, so it's even more fun for those of us in the Northern Hemisphere, in the colder regions of the Earth. Let's do this. Let's give our only Earth a breather. Guys, I hope you support this. This will be good for us. This will be good for the Earth. This will be good for our great-grandchildren. For all of us at this point in time to do this, starting from next year or even the year after that. If it will take a couple of years to put in place, I don't honestly mind, as long as we put something like this in place. Right, guys, thank you very much for listening to me. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I hope what I've discussed today has been challenging, and I want us to challenge ourselves to change, guys, and I want us to challenge ourselves to support good causes and to look after the Earth as well. So guys, thank you again for listening to me. Please subscribe to the channel. Remember to break yourself away from fake news. Stop following fake prophets. It kills. Have a fantastic Thursday, guys, and look forward to the weekend. Thank you. Bye-bye.